All right, well, we're so lucky to have with us today Toby Kraus. He is the co-founder and CEO of Lightship, and I think he's in one right now, Jesse.
I'm stoked to be here, and I am in one. This is Beta 103, which is one of our basically our pre-production vehicles. You guys get to see it.
That's so cool. Well, tell us what Lightship is. We're showing some video of it here on screen, but explain to the viewers what they're seeing.
Yeah, we like to say we're the first American all-electric RV manufacturer, and really what we've done is we've built an RV from the ground up to be an electric vehicle. We can get into it. It means a lot of things, but it's not like any RV I think most folks have seen before.
Now, the biggest trouble with RVing with an electric vehicle is, and people will not let you forget it, the towing is so bad, your range will drop in half. But it sounds like you've come up with a solution to that. Can you tell us what it is and how it works?
Yeah, that is true. And Ben and I, the other founder, we sort of had to test this for ourselves. And one of the very first things we did was we towed what's called a high-low trailer, which is kind of a cult classic RV that is meant to be very aerodynamic. Like the Lightship, it collapses down. And we towed it behind a Model X, and we confirmed for ourselves that, yeah, you tow with an EV and you lose like 2/3 of your range. It's pretty bad. And so at Lightship, that's kind of one of the first principles we have to start with. Like, how do we make an RV that is meant to exist in the age of electrification? And what we do is quite a lot. We focus on both the towing and the living experience, and in all of it, we get rid of the fossil fuel. So on the towing side, we make a vehicle that is inherently passively efficient. So it is very slippery, like any EV out there. You have to make it slippery. The other thing, though, that's really important and is unique about us is you have to reduce your frontal area. So the like equation for this is CDA, coefficient of drag, times frontal area. We make it slippery, that's CD. We make our frontal area very small. That's the vehicle going from what we call camp mode, 10 feet tall, down to road mode, 6.5 feet tall. And the confluence of those two things makes a passively efficient vehicle. And then we do something that's also a little crazy. We put a powertrain in it. So we then propel the vehicle while you're towing it. It's not autonomous. It's not driving itself. It's kind of like an e-bike. It's assisting. It's supporting its own mass and drag. And both those passive approaches and that active technology gets you to a point where you don't lose that range.
Okay, so just to simplify that for everybody, it seems like the Cosmos, which is the first version that's coming out now, has a range of, I think I read 300 miles.
Yep.
So if I'm in my Cybertruck or my Rivian and I pop that on the back, I should still have 300 miles.
That's right. And to be clear, what 300 miles means is the Lightship will support its own drag and mass for 300 miles. So if you have an EV that has more than a 300 mile range, you actually would have more than a 300 mile range. We will propel our vehicle for 300 miles.
Wow.
Okay, so most vehicles on the road that have a battery and a powertrain, they have like steering wheels and pedals, and you don't have that. You don't have to have somebody in the back, in the trailer, driving it. So how does it know how does it know what to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thankfully, yeah, we don't make, you're going on a road trip, you make your kids or your wife sit in the trailer. Actually, in the United States, this is a little bit of an aside. You're not supposed to have occupants in a trailer. That relates to sort of like the homologation standards. You don't crash test a trailer. So the way it works, we call it the TrekDrive system, and it requires no additional controls from the driver from the user perspective. What is happening is we have a suite of sensors in the vehicle, the most important of which is a solid state force sensor in the hitch itself. And what that is doing is it is measuring the force at the tow hitch, and that is the principal input into a control loop, which is creating motor torque, effectively controlling the motor on the rear axle. So what you can sort of imagine is happening is it's looking at the force in that hitch. It's trying to make that force as close to zero as it can, although always slightly non-zero. You always want to have a little bit of a force for tow stability. And by doing that, you're basically taking the sail off of the back of your car and or your truck, and you get your range back.
So that means dynamically it's doing this. So if the drag were to change for whatever reason, You wouldn't have to be like, oh no, I have to recalibrate. It would be doing it just automatically.
It's doing it, dynamically. And in fact, it's doing it in both directions. So imagine you are going down a hill, and typically in that situation, when you have a standard trailer, your trailer is pushing on the rear of your vehicle. It's kind of trying to push the rear axle of the vehicle out, and folks who've done a lot of trailering have experienced this. It kind of like makes the vehicle a little bit squirrely. We can sense that force, which is a push force.
The force?
And we can have the motor do regen. So you actually get both the range benefit, but you actually get like just general, sort of toe stability, toe safety benefit as well.
That's really cool. Okay, I have a dumb question. It seems like because it's got batteries and a motor and everything, it's going to be really heavy. And I know that towing, you have a certain weight limit on your truck, say 11,000 pounds, I think, for the Rivian.
Yep.
But do you get to negate any of that because it's actually doing something that most trailers can't?
Not a dumb question at all. It is a design challenge for sure, because you're taking a trailer and fundamentally by putting batteries in a motor in it, you are adding mass. And so we then have to think about how do we lightweight other systems of the vehicle so we can still stay within reasonable both tow capacity and the payload capacity of the vehicle. You mentioned like a Rivian, like an R1T. We have a range of products. Our gross vehicle weight is 7,500 pounds up to 8,300 pounds, and I would like to tell you that because it's propelling itself and the weight disappears, you could tow it with a small car or something. However, that isn't the case. And the reason that's not the case is because the system is not active all of the time. So one of the most important things that we control is when the system is on. And in order to like have it be invisible, you'd have to have it on at all times, which we don't think is appropriate for building a really safe and reliable system. The other thing is we're not trying to interfere with or change or debate like a manufacturer's payload capacity or tow capacity. So though the physics and in theory could a light duty car sometimes tow it and it'd be okay, but I think from a practical standpoint we say you need to have an appropriate, you're towing this with like an electric pickup truck for the most part.
Okay, so
or a standard truck, I'll say.
Okay, so you basically solved the biggest problem with electric vehicles and towing, which is the range part, and everyone always complains about the range. You've solved that, but now you have a trailer that has a powertrain and has a gigantic battery in it. It has like a 77 kilowatt hour battery, so we're talking like a Model Y battery back there.
Yep.
I assume that you can do some pretty fun things with that.
Oh yeah. We can definitely do some fun things. And so that's why I'd say to start, we've electrified the whole vehicle. So for folks who've done a lot of RVing, you're sort of used to this experience of relying on sort of a mishmash of different sorts of fuel systems. You'll have a propane system that's doing your heating, your cooking. Sometimes the refrigerator will actually run on a propane loop. Then you have a generator and that'll run off of propane or gasoline or sometimes diesel. That's doing all of your electrical loads. So I'd say the first thing and the most basic thing to the RV experience is we get rid of all of that. We have a single fuel source. It's a 77 kilowatt hour battery, and everything in it in the vehicle is electric. So all electric appliances, an induction cooktop. We have a really awesome heat pump system. It's I'd say even more advanced than a traditional heat pump. It's more like an automotive style heat pump because it's doing both the cabin heating and cooling as well as the powertrain heating and cooling, and we get to build a very efficient system because we're harvesting heat from one to provide to the other and things like that. So everything electric to power the camping experience in the RV. That's maybe cool thing number one, and I think the most important cool thing. The second really cool thing that we are really excited about is what you alluded to. It's about 6 Tesla Powerwalls in a vehicle. And it's a solar system, which is approaching a 2 kilowatt solar system. I'd call it a small, modest, residential, but it's similar order of magnitude of as a residential system. So that is sitting now in your driveway. And when you're not using it, what might you do with that? I think a lot has been said of the idea of using your car or your truck in vehicle to load or vehicle to grid, to power your house. And that's really cool. But one of the challenges has always been, it's like your daily driver, right? Like you can't guarantee that it's at home when you need it. Now RVs are a little bit different. You can pretty much guarantee when your RV is at your house, you're not camping in it. You can use it to power your house. And similarly, like when you are out RVing, you probably don't need to back up your house. So it actually is a very like useful thing. And we love that, because something that sometimes the RV industry gets dinged for is these assets, people spend a lot of money on them, and then they aren't used that much. You go camping like 3 or 4 times a year. And we hope people use them a lot. And then when they're not using them, we're like, cool, you have basically a home solar system and 6 Tesla Powerwalls.
It seems like you could charge it up, and I just did some rough calculations in my head, like maybe in a sunny week, like in a week. Is that about right?
Yeah, and it is an EV in kind of every way that you would expect an EV to be. So typically you'd probably charge it with either you'd fast charge it at a supercharger, or you'd like level 2 charge it with a 240 volt outlet or something. You can charge it with a 110 volt outlet. You can also charge it from solar alone. Now, the relative size of the solar to the pack means it's a pretty slow charge, but yeah, I think your math is about right. Like if you wanted to fully charge it, you could fully charge it that way.
I mean, while you're camping though, like if you're in a sunny spot, it's charging itself.
Well, not only while you're camping, but like while you're at home, going to work every day.
Right.
I won't plug it in to charge it up. You just leave it for a week, and then you get to go camping on the weekend with all the energy that you made from the sun.
Oh yeah.
Or like what you're saying, you lose power, and now you have 1.8 kilowatts of solar and 77 kilowatt hours of battery backup.
But I see a problem. Your buddy's going to always want to come over and stay in the Lightship. It's going to be like, dude, I'm just staying in the Lightship tonight, dude.
So let's talk about the ship itself. So we talked about the battery. We talked about how it can basically aid in the towing of itself, get you the actual range of your electric truck, which is awesome because, I have a Cybertruck. I love the range. I would hate it if the range was halved or even worse.
Yep.
So talk to me first about the charging. You said that it could supercharge?
That's right. Yeah. So we in the front nose of the vehicle, we call it the Aero Hub. We have basically like a traditional charge port. We actually have a number of charge ports. So we have an NACS connector, the Tesla connector, where you can fast charge it, and it's kind of similar charging time to a standard EV, like you're charging from 20 to 80 and 30, 40 minutes or something like that. And in addition to that, we also have a 240 volt plug and a bunch of 110 volt plugs. So you can use those to then power any appliance or speakers or your car. And that is also how you would do power offtake to do home backup. So it would be folks that have, for instance, a generator installed in their house. You have what's called a transfer switch, and that is where you're shutting yourself off of grid power and then getting power from the generator. And this can just substitute for the generator in exactly the same topology.
Job site trailer for like when you want to build your off-grid cabin out in the woods. This is your base.
What do you need the cabin for when you have the cabin and it can go anywhere? Okay,
so this is cabin.
This is really fun. So the next things that I want to talk about are so the whole design that you've made. It kind of, you were talking earlier about like the passive aerodynamics of it. So the whole thing kind of just gets smaller.
Yep.
And then it can get taller again. So talk to me about how that works and like what design challenges you ran into.
Yeah, we like to say it tows small and it camps real big. So what's happening is when you're towing, we call it road mode. It's about 6.5 feet tall. It's really kind of like hiding behind the truck. And that's the kind of most important part of the passive efficiency, right? You are reducing the frontal area, the kind of like cross-sectional area of the vehicle. You then get a secondary benefit when it goes up to 10 feet tall, what we call camp mode. And what that benefit is when you're living in it, you're camping in it, you have a really nice, like if I stood up now, I'm 6 feet tall and I have, 18 inches of clearance above my head. And that is very atypical in an RV. Usually you're talking like a 6-foot ceiling. You have, anybody who's 6 feet tall or more, like they've never stood up straight in an RV shower, like in the history of their RV experience. So you get that benefit. you asked about like sort of like the design and like how that works. And I would tell you, this is one of the areas that companies 4 years in, this was a challenge I wouldn't have expected if you talked to me 4 years ago. Like, oh yeah, it goes up and down, like it gets small. Like
That's easy.
how hard could that be? Turns out it's really hard. And the reason it's really hard is because there's a lot of mass that you're going up it, and it's going up and down. You want it to be like, dead simple, reliable from a user experience. And a design principle for us is we really wanted it to be invisible. Like if you had like big pillars in the vehicle or it impacted the interior, you would maybe get the aerodynamic benefit, but at a cost. There's actually in the RV industry, pop-ups are almost like a dirty word. Some people love them, some people hate them. We really wanted it to be invisible. And so what that drove us to do is it's effectively, it's kind of a clamshell. So you have a larger clamshell, which is the top, we call it the canopy, sitting on top of the lower clamshell, which we call the tub. And then there's a sort of a 4-point actuator system. Each point is a big lead screw powered by an independent motor. And on that lead screw, there is a carrier or bracket that essentially attaches from the tub to the canopy and through kind of like a slit on the exterior of the vehicle. And then you have to coordinate all 4 of those motors simultaneously. And then you want to make it like relatively fast, right? Like so you can have like some kind of like presentational moment. And it turns out doing all of those things really well is super hard. And like even little things like, okay, so there's like a gap where this carrier runs out in 4 places on a vehicle. Any automotive designer is going to absolutely hate that. Like gap and flush is like a religion. And so we had to develop a sealing system, like a little seal that's on a roller. So as it goes up and down, the seal unrolls and rolls so that it basically is keeping that gap sealed at all times. What I'm excited about now is we're on the other side of that development. If you'd talked to me a year ago, that would be one of the things keeping me up at night, but it is extremely cool. And I think that feature, it was frankly a risk for us, like taking on that complexity. We're already doing all this electric vehicle stuff. That's hard. It was a risk, but it has turned out to be one of maybe the defining feature of the vehicle. It's what people sort of like know us for. It's just really cool.
Talk to us about the fact that you and your co-founder, Ben, both came from Tesla. I know a lot of our viewers watching are huge Tesla fans. What did you guys learn working at Tesla that you were able to implement in this new company?
Yeah, Ben and I both, hail from Tesla. We're a bit of different generations. I was 2009 to 2015, so this is sort of like end of the original Roadster, Model S, which is what I spent most of my time on, and then Model X. I led the finance team, so I was on the kind of like the finance side, and then I actually spent about a year as a product manager for actually the very first Model S, the one that has the big black fish mouth that you still see running around from time to time. And then Ben was 2015 to 2020, so he was like Model 3 era. He's one of the patent holders on the battery of the Cybertruck.
Oh, cool.
And he's a technical background. He's a battery engineer. If we overlap, we should pin this down. It was maybe a day. We didn't know each other. We got connected later on, actually by another Tesla guy, the original head of the Tesla battery team, a guy by the name of Dorian West, was kind of a friend of both of ours and put us together. And the Tesla experience, I think much has been said about the Tesla experience. It is like transformational for so many people in so many ways. And for me, it was like I got thrown in my early 20s. I was leading the finance team in my like mid to late 20s. It made no sense. I had no experience or reason to do that. But I got to do it, and I got to like level up and learn and grow, and it was amazing. And Ben too. Ben was like the little bit back in Tesla history, but the whole like production hell of the Tesla Model 3, like if you'd sort of like zoomed in to the production hell, Ben was sort of like right in the middle of it as they're trying to ramp up the batteries factory for the Model 3. And you asked kind of like what we learned, what we took away. I'd say there was a lot. We could spend hours talking about this, but probably like the most important part of it, I would say, is like the mission, the importance of doing something that has a really big impact, and then I would also just say like the like resilience and like the culture, like just trying to do something really big and really hard, and being willing to like do what it takes to make that happen and be really resilient. That's probably what's rubbed off on us. And I'd be candid, like we've learned things that we want to do differently too. I think things have been written about Tesla and some of the downsides, but man, overall, like that we wouldn't be here without that experience.
You started your company, you said about 4 years ago, when, let's be honest, money was good in the EV world. If you could attach EV to some part of your business, there was investors for it. And now we've gotten into really tough times in terms of funding, but you just went through a B round, a B series, and it seems like you've got some really cool partners. Yeah.
I mean, if we were at our stage 5 years ago, we might have been going public. Like it was a crazy time in electric vehicle world. By the way, that wouldn't have been a good thing for us. And I think it's been a bad thing for a lot of companies that went through that process.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, my former employer, Proterra, is another one. Great company. The product should exist in the world, but it went through a rough patch after going through a SPAC. Tesla, I think at that time, and as really Model 3 hit an inflection point, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, Tesla has made it and is a mass market company, and they're profitable. Like that led to this like euphoria, which led to like what was the top of the cycle of EV. And we're now 4-5 years removed from that. And as you guys said, I would say EVs are on a down cycle. Let's be real. It doesn't mean they're going away. I mean, if you're a believer, like I still think everyone's going to be driving an EV, and the products speak for themselves. They're amazing. But in terms of like financial markets and investor, we are for sure at a trough. And any early stage hardware company is sort of like some level of trough right now, unless you are building something that is like somehow connected to AI or something like that, or like defense tech. I think is kind of hot right now. We aren't those things.
Well, I think that what happened was Tesla kind of showed that it was possible, and then everyone went, "Oh,
that's easy.
It's easy. They did it." So therefore, every other company on Earth is going to do the same thing, and now I can get in low and make the 10 or 20x return that everyone who did Tesla did.
Yeah.
And then they found out that they were wrong because Tesla was working just harder, faster, and longer than everybody else.
Yeah.
And so then everyone was like, "Oh no, EVs are harder than we thought." It's like, right.
Yes.
So then let's bring it back to Lightship. So, Tesla's on this mission to make everything electric, or at least a mass market electric car, which I think they've succeeded in doing with the Model 3 and the Model Y.
Yeah.
Now they're doing the Cybertruck, which kind of brings in a whole new set of buyers for electric vehicles, because up until this point, maybe you get the Ford, maybe you get the Rivian. But in terms of supercharging and bulletproofedness and lots of other fun stuff that the Cybertruck has, there was no real option. So now we're getting into the world where it's like, all right, I'm a truck guy, but I'm an EV truck guy. I want to do all this stuff. Lightship seems like a perfect fit, because for all the millions of people who want a Cybertruck, I think a lot of them are going to want Lightship. Let's talk about the price, though, because I think that, Cybertruck already costs, well, it's now down to $7,250 or whatever. Because of the tax credit. But
I mean, I wanted to ask Toby, I just saw your website. It looks like you can actually get a tax credit for the Lightship as well.
You can. It's actually different than the EV tax credit, which maybe is good these days because the EV tax credit's a bit of a lightning rod. Our tax credit is the ITC. So it's the same tax credit you would get if you put solar or energy storage in your house. And it actually works out to be about the same size as the EV tax credit. It's actually a little bit more for us. To some of your other questions though, Lightship, I think we benefited from our Tesla heritage. We've learned from it. I think as EVs in a down cycle, I think the good thing for us is we are not a car company, and that I think is a good thing. I want to see EVs be successful in terms of like light duty vehicles and heavy duty vehicles, but it would be real tough if we were starting a car company right now. I mean, you need $1 billion or at least $500 million to get started. You mentioned Canoe, and the nice thing about the RV industry, there's a couple things. One is it's a different scale. So it's not, we don't need like 5 years and like, our third generation product and like hundreds of thousands of units to get to profitability. That's something that investors really like. And then there's also an aspect of it that really has nothing to do with the numbers. Like we're building a product that is facing more of a mainstream market. Like you mentioned the Cybertruck, right? Like what that is it's not necessarily the cheapest EV, but it is definitely opening new demographics. America loves the pickup truck every year. The number 1, number 2, number 3 highest selling vehicles are pickup trucks. It's like the F-150, the Dodge Ram, Chevy Silverado. RVing is definitely facing more of a mainstream audience. 1 in 10 American families owns an RV. And I think in this moment, that is something that is important, and I think like captures more people's imagination. Like we're doing something that it's an EV, but it's like a little bit something larger. And then the last point I'll make is on the price point you mentioned. So we don't pretend that we aren't starting at a high price point. So we sell a portfolio of products from $125,000 up to $250,000. Right now we're just selling the Cosmos is really our founder series at $250,000. And it's an awesome product. It's kind of like, it's got everything. It's got some special touches, like the materials, the colors, like everything is unique about this vehicle. And we're really excited about it. And we're lucky to have, a number of owners who are really excited about it. But our desire is not to only be selling vehicles at this price point. This playbook or the story is not unique to us. You asked kind of like what we took away from Tesla. Tesla had, I think, a really smart strategy for how you sell what is a complex hardware product to a consumer audience. And the playbook that they used, which we're taking a bit, is they started with the Roadster. It was $120,000, small segment 2-seater sports car that allowed them to build a really great brand, show that the technology was awesome. And then they moved on to the Model S, $70,000 to $80,000 price point, and they did sort of an SUV variant with the Model X. And then their third generation product was mainstream. So fortunately for us, like there actually is a really good market at sort of the $100,000 to $200,000 price point. A lot of folks are familiar with Airstream. So that gives us an opportunity to start, build a premium brand, show that we're not just selling EVs for EV's sake. Like the technology is awesome. It makes the experience better. And then absolutely the not so cleverly named AE2 and AE3, we will absolutely be approaching a mainstream product.
Now, let's talk about your technology for a minute, because I don't want to be rude, but to your competition, but most trailer and camper companies are going to mainly be focused around like showers and, we put some light strips up. I mean, that's like the latest thing that I've seen. Oh, there's light strips everywhere.
Yep.
And this place looks like a vape shop. And that's cool. But what you have with TrekDrive seems like a really revolutionary technology. You're looking very forward, you're thinking forward in terms of what vehicles are going to be towing these campers.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what kind of business opportunity you have with TrekDrive. It seems like every other company that makes a camper is going to want your technology.
Yeah. The TrekDrive system is extremely cool. We're like kind of like deep in our test program, and I last week was driving one, and right now it's tuned. It kicks into 15 miles an hour, and it's what's so awesome about it is sort of like how unnotable it is. Like you're driving, if you ever towed, it's like the truck is like laboring. You hit 50 miles per hour and very undramatically the weight is just gone. And if it was more dramatic, like maybe that would be exciting or something. But I would be less excited about it because you'd be like, okay, like this isn't going to become mainstream. It's going to scare people. Like, no, it's incredible. And I had that moment, of realization as well. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be in every trailer ever. The reality is, we are a small company and we are laser focused on doing one thing really well, which is shipping the AE1 Cosmos and delighting our customers. And I definitely am excited about what we will do with TrekDrive, but we are being patient, and I think we're focused on that being kind of like the next thing we do. What's nice about it is, we built an EV platform, so it's not like we have to like redevelop or do something totally different. Like we have the EV platform. It's like our version of the EV skateboard. So there are a lot of things you can do with it, and I think that's something that we will do once we really tackle the thing in front of us.
And so I'm assuming you have it patent protected, so it's not like there's any rush on getting out newer products or having to work with other companies. You've basically got this on lock.
Yeah, we have a series of patents. I think like over time though, other people are gonna. I think it's such a big opportunity that like folks are going to figure out different approaches. It's like, somebody has a patent on an electric motor, but somehow many electric car companies figure it out. So I would say the only thing that is creating a rush is not necessarily the patent so much. It's just sort of like our own enthusiasm and like the opportunity of the market and seizing the day.
I was just looking at the list of features that you guys have. One of them that I think people don't really think about till they get to the campsite is the self-leveling. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so we have an automatic leveling system, which is super cool, and we also, we do a bunch of things to really make the setup experience easy. So we have a camera system that basically surrounds the vehicle. It's technically a 270 degrees camera system. It goes on the sides and the back. That makes parking really, really simple. We have an auto leveling system, which makes the leveling experience really simple. The lift lower, so going from road mode to camp mode, is like a single button push on the touch screen. We have a big opportunity to just streamline the whole camping experience, and this is something that we really grew to appreciate more and more as we began working on this. Like our sort of first concept was, we will make the experience electric because we believe the experience to be better when you kind of get rid of the generator and the propane and everything. And what we learned is the industry, and you talked about kind of the incumbents, like it hasn't developed much in the last several decades. And so there are just so many moments where we have an opportunity to make the experience much better. Like, here's a small one. One thing that all RVers hate is the wastewater management system.
Yes.
Like having, at the end of the trip, you have to go to a dump site and you have to empty your black tank and your gray tank, and nobody likes that. It's gross and yucky, and it can go very badly. Yes. And so we have a system that it takes all of like the manual connections, and you like taking the hose out of your bumper and having to like attach it. Everything is all attached. It's an electronic valve system. You hit a button, it dumps your black tank. You hit another button, it dumps your gray tank. You're done.
Wow.
So there's like just little stuff, and that has nothing to do with electric. I mean, I guess it has like an electric actuator, but it's not. You don't need to be an electric vehicle to do that. That's really comes from like our experience RVing and getting to know our customers and our interest in really making all parts of the experience great.
I feel like if someone is interested after they go to your website, the next step is they're going to want to do butts and seats. I mean, that's what we've been talking about for years with electric cars. You have to experience them. Mm-hmm. How can I experience the Lightship?
100% butts and seats. That is, I think, for a product like this, it looks cool on a website. Hopefully it looks cool in the background. You really have to like come, experience it. And when you guys if you're in Colorado or California, come by. So for folks that are interested, on our website, You can, you put down a reservation, we'll get in touch with you. You can join our email list, and we will be in touch with you. We're starting a road show right now.
Oh, nice.
First stop actually is in San Francisco this weekend. Actually, I can see they're loading, getting the vehicle ready to go right out there. And yeah, then we're doing kind of a US tour, and we'll have a bunch of spots, and yeah, definitely come check it out. It's cool. It's cool when you see it, like digitally. It's really something to experience in person.
Just a shout out to our fans. If you do experience Lightship, please send us a video for community mail time. That would be so much fun.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. You were talking about your incumbents, and you're talking about how they haven't really developed in 20 to 30 years. And I think that this idea of camping has been very entrenched for a long time, that camping is this thing where you go out into the woods and you have to live life the hard way. And I think that there's some merit to that. I think the best part is you come home from camping, and you appreciate that you can, flick a light switch and the air conditioner is working, and the toilet, you don't have to go dump, and all sorts of things. You don't have to dig a hole or whatever. Cooking is easier, all that stuff.
Yep.
And then obviously there's many different levels of camper, some that have refrigerators, some that have toilets, some that have showers, all that sort of thing. Yours is definitely top of the line in terms of the amenities.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have this whole electrical system, which is not 12 volts, which is not running off of propane.
Yep.
Can you kind of talk through, how is this different? Like, what makes this different from a normal camper? And then how far away are we from a normal living in a house experience?
It is very different from a normal camper. I'd say it is probably closer to living in a house. It feels almost like a studio apartment to me. Versus a traditional, RV experience. So because we are building the thing from scratch for electrification, we talked about, a lot of the technology parts of it. We took the liberty to have a really different approach to the inside of the vehicle as well. We're not trying to make it, it's not your home, it's not your car. It's a different place. And, whereas a typical RV, if you've been in a typical RV, I don't know if they would say this, the interior strategy is this, but it's kind of everything you have in your house, but it's smaller. And then what happens is sort of stories abound of RVers who are yeah, we don't actually use the kitchen because it's too small and the layout stinks, and we definitely don't use the bathroom. We always go to the RV park because the shower is tiny and I have to bend over. So our approach was it's not going to have everything in it. It's not going to have tons of rooms. But what's there is going to be, hyper usable, and just we're really going to focus on simplicity, usability, and the experience of being inside. So, when you come in, and this is I think why you really need to feel it. It's you walk in, it's a really high ceiling, kind of windows everywhere. It's super open, especially when you're outside. It's just beautiful. We're trying to connect you to nature, not necessarily hide you in a submarine. Of course, we have privacy solutions. So when you want to go to bed, you can have privacy. And then it's a big open space. So it's it's a great place to hang out with friends and family. The outdoors are amazing, and we hope you want to spend a lot of time outdoors. And when you want to rest or you want to get out of the sun, we want you to feel really awesome inside too. And then in the space, we then have conversions to make it into a place where you sleep. So the main bed converts from the lounge, and you have this really nice, comfortable queen size bed. The secondary bed is a conversion from the dinette table, which drops down. And we also, rather than dividing up the space and having one sleeping space on one side, another sleeping space on the other side, and the bathroom in the middle, which is a typical layout, we just had one big open living space. And then we have our restroom. This is actually right here behind me in the back. So yeah, it will feel very different, and I think much more staying in an Airbnb or something than staying in an RV. And then the last thing I'll mention is from sort of a customer sort of UX is typically in an RV. There's a joke when you buy a new RV, you get a bag of all the manuals and the remote controls and things. It's kind of in your house, right? You have a million remote controls, and you get all of the instructions from your TV and stuff that like, and if you put all those together, it would be a stack. So the reason for that in a typical RV is because you have a whole bunch of different devices and suppliers, and none of them talk to each other, and everything is pretty analog. And we took a much more automotive approach where everything is attached to a CAN bus, and we have a central control system, basically like our UI. It's like a touch screen, and that's how you control everything. We have physical light switches because we think that's important, but you can also control your lights from the UI. That's how you control the heat pump system, the leveling system, the lift blower system, monitoring your solar system, your energy system, your wastewater system. It's just a single system. So in this way, it's probably not like your house or like your RV. It's more like your car. I think
and specifically your Tesla.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's very similar to going from a typical OEM where, everything has its own firmware to a Tesla where everything is basically all integrated into the UI.
Yeah, exactly. I should say like it's like a modern EV or like a Tesla, like a Tesla. And I think that's the difference. It's like going from maybe a car 10 years ago where everything was analog and disconnected and came from 10 different suppliers to in your Tesla, you have a control display right here and does everything.
But Toby, is it Starlink ready?
Of course it's Starlink ready. Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean,
That's awesome.
Starlink is so important in the RV industry. I think like that is table stakes.
Well, it's got to have changed everything now, because it used to just be like most of the people who were going to go RVing or whatever, it's like, we're going to get off grid. I'm not going to answer my emails or my calls for weeks at a time.
Yeah.
And so you really had to plan because you'd have to be like, you can't reach me. Like, not only will I not pick up the phone, I would have to go into town to be able to answer the phone. So like, forget it.
Yeah.
Now it can be more like, well, whatever my work schedule happens to be, I get to work from home, every other week. So we'll just go right up to Tahoe or Winnipesaukee, and I can still take my emails and calls from there, and then I'll go jump in the pond.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's an incredibly important feature. Our customers love it. I personally feel somewhat conflicted. I'm one of those people where like the advent of Wi-Fi and airplanes, I don't know if that was a good thing. I wouldn't mind just having a moment of peace. I say I have 3 kids. 2 of them are human. 1 of them is an RV company. I wouldn't mind not being connected for a time.
You gotta, I think many other people are going to be able to kind of put that off. But I mean, luckily you're a CEO and you're taking care of all of this for us. And one of your kids is a RV company.
Yeah. And I use it too. I'm just conflicted.
I know that people watching are going to wonder if you're ever going to do like a crowd fund or something where they could get in on the investment part. Do you think you'll ever open to that, or are you going to stay on kind of this road, which looks like it might be leading to an IPO at some point?
I never say never. I mean, we haven't done it yet. We don't immediately have plans to do it. I've heard some great testimonials about it. We were just at CES. Right next to us was Aptera, who you guys I'm sure know, and one of the most famous crowdfunded companies out there is. And I think it's interesting. We don't currently have plans for it, but I won't say never.
Well, fans, just send them a lot of emails and bug them to death. It might work.
Yeah,
that's how it's worked with every other company.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I will receive the emails, and maybe you can convince me.
Well, Toby, where should people go to check out more about Lightship and kind of drool over the features?
Yeah, lightshiprv.com is the best place to learn more about us. We just launched, when we unveiled our production vehicles, we just launched a new website. So lots of good information there. You can also follow us on social, X, Instagram, LinkedIn. I definitely encourage folks, like join our email list. Put in a reservation if you feel so inclined, and importantly, come see it. It's really cool.
That's great. I'm so glad we got a chance to talk to you today. Get back to work, and we'll hopefully get a chance to see you in person at some point, maybe with our mobile solar trailer, just because, having built that ourselves, we know how hard the job that you're doing is, because we thought, how hard could it be to put some solar and batteries in a trailer?
And we already had a watertight box. We had all sorts of advantages.
And it's not easy.
Turns out it's hard. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I really appreciate it,
you.
guys. Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed it, and really appreciate you talking to me and spending the time and covering Lightship. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you again for your time.
Yeah, likewise.
All right.
Take it easy.
See
See you
ya.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.